Hey everyone, this is Chris Grenier, and today's Market Minute. If your name is Matthew, just don't bother watching. All right, so everybody's obviously freaking out during the hurricane season here in Orlando and pretty much all of Florida. Everybody knows Hurricane Matthew's coming up the coast right now. We're not quite sure what's going to happen in terms of atmospheric pressure and all that good stuff right now in Central Florida. Fingers crossed it certainly heads out to the sea and loses power when it comes near us, but you never quite know. This isn't a hurricane preparation video or anything like that, but one of the things I do want to talk about, what is involved when it comes to hurricanes and other acts of God, is force majeure. Force majeure is basically a contractual obligation and clause that's in most Florida and pretty much nationwide residential contracts. Force majeure is essentially a clause that states if there's any types of acts of God, hurricanes, terrorism, or anything like that, unforeseen circumstances that delays or possibly causes harm to a property in terms of what the property expectations are when you close on it, the buyer and seller can pretty much null and void the contract. Force majeure basically provides a layer of protection for the purchaser of a property when unforeseen circumstances happen. Obviously, if a hurricane comes through Orlando and a roof's ripped off between the time of you going into contract and you purchasing the property, obviously the seller is going to have some type of obligation to have their insurance fix the property, or the buyer can obviously use that to opt out of the contract. Another thing that force majeure does when it comes to contracts is delay everything. Basically, when the governor declares a state of emergency, all kind of contractual obligations are put on pause. Your inspection periods, title evidence review, everything like that, all those little clauses that are timeline specific in a contract are pretty much put on halt, and then you really have until the state of emergency is lifted for the most part, or force majeure, if you will, is technically over. Now, obviously, it's really kind of a tricky situation, and not 99.99% of the time, it's something that you don't have to worry about, just because, being in Central Florida, we don't get hurricanes too often. Thank God we don't get types of earthquakes or anything crazy like that really throws off banks and, actual responsibilities of typical business life. So it's little things like that that are in contracts that you definitely want to be aware of, take advantage of sometimes, but definitely be prepared for in others. So this is Chris Grenier. I appreciate you watching my video. Stay safe there during the hurricane, and fingers crossed that it passes us and we can all get back to doing business as usual.